All right. I am going to be talking about the rate environment today. And the main thing is obviously the temporary buy down. This should take about 10 minutes. Just want to do a quick presentation to make sure that everybody understood the benefits. So start off. Home prices are up. Mortgage rates are up. The result, obviously monthly mortgage payments are going to be up. So affordability is a top concern. When I talk to clients, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people. I always ask, what is your budget on a monthly payment? They tell me they think they can afford a lot more, or they think, okay, $300,000 of a home is going to price at a certain amount. They're very surprised when I go over what that monthly payment is going to be. So we need to make sure that there's different solutions of what they can afford and what's reality. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands what that looks like. Home prices, as I said, continue to go up year over year. You're up 7.6%. As you can see, August of 21, 368 or so, all the way to August 22, you're at about 396. You saw that peaked at about 420 in June of 22. Rates, now I'm recording this on on November 15th. So this is actually as of October 31st. Rates were at 6.66%. And rates right now, they're pretty close to that right now. If I had been recording this on November 8th, like 1 week ago today, this would be about 7.2. Rates came down dramatically last Thursday when they announced the new inflationary numbers, which is obviously a good thing. But keep in mind, this also shows 0.8% in fees. If you want just a regular rate without buying it down, your rate right now is still in the sevens. You're probably looking at about 7 to 7.25, most likely. But if you want to pay a point to buy it down, you're probably looking in the mid sixes. And that does change day to day. Average mortgage payments, as you can see, look at this. This is probably the most interesting slide to me anyway. Now, again, this is only through June of 22. That's all they have the data from. But look from June until about December of 21. You're consistently right around that $1,300 mark. And then boom, 2000, June of 22. Went up $700 in 6 months. I guarantee once they supply July through October numbers, that's going to be well over $2,000. Big increase. That's why we're trying to find solutions for clients for those first 1 to 3 years in their house. All right. Most people know that buyers are going to have immediate expenses, whether it be moving, maybe new utility bills, things like that. People still want to buy a home. That's the great thing about our industry. There's always people out there that are relocating, that get married, have a kid, get divorced, or just want to simply stop renting and want to make it a case where they buy a house. So that's a good thing. The solution is a temporary buy down. I'm going to tell you why that's a better solution than a buy down that's permanent. So how it works, the buyer is going to sign a temporary buy down agreement with Cross Country Mortgage. The seller or the builder has to fund the entire deposit. So let's say that the buy down costs $7,000. Let's say that you only have $6,500 that the seller is willing to give. They can't do the buy down. It has to be all 7,000. Like the buyer can't come in and say, hey, I'll just throw in an extra 500. That does not work. The full amount has to be covered by the seller, buyer, or builder. No exceptions. What we do with that money, again, let's just say it's $7,000. We're going to put that money in an escrow account. And then every month that their payment is due, we're going to pay that, whatever that amount is. So if it's like $250, we're going to take out $250. And they're going to have $6,750 left after that. And then another $250, $6,500, so on and so forth. That's how it works. Now, I'm going to go over 4 buy downs. Most people think that there's only one buy down option available. They think it's a 2-1 buy down and that's it. And that's what most people sell. But here across country, we have 4 buy downs. The first one's a 1-0 buy down. All that means is it's 1% the first year. It's going to go down from 7% to 6%. You're going to save $345 on this scenario. Keep in mind, this scenario is 650,000 sales price, 520 loan amount, so it's kind of a bigger loan. But as you can see in this scenario, it's only $4,100 or roughly that. The sales price is 650. So I mean, that's like 0.65%, somewhere in that range for your seller paid closing costs. That's hardly anything. So if the seller's not willing to give a lot of closing costs, because let's say they don't feel confident that it's going to appraise, or they just don't, maybe you have to have a more competitive offer, you can at least do a 1-0 buy down and actually get into a better situation for the client for that first year. The second option is a 1-1 buy down. This is based off of 450, loan amount of 360. All these are going to have a start rate of 7, and then the buy down rates will be lower. So in this scenario, a 1-1 buy down just means for the first 2 years, it's 6%. Almost a $240 payment savings. Yearly is at $2,840. The overall buy down is $5,681. Now, most people are going to put down less than 10%. And usually when you do that, this buy down, you're only going to need 1.2% to about 1.3. Usually it's somewhere in that range, 1.2 to 1.35 maybe. So if you get 2 or 3% from the seller, then we're going to only apply 1.2 or so to this. And then the buyer will be able to use that extra 0.8 to 1.8, whatever you get, towards their closing costs, to other closing costs, I should say. So in this scenario, again, 1% for the first 2 years. The most common one you're going to see is a 2-1 buy down. And that's the one that most people advertise. So in this scenario, again, this is a 450 purchase price, 360 loan amount. First year, 5%, second year, 6%. As you can see, almost a $465 payment savings on the first year, almost $240 on the second year. Overall is about $8,400. So on a buy down of this magnitude on this 450, that's a little bit less than 2% of seller paid closing costs, but most people are putting down 3.5, or 5% down on their homes. Usually on this scenario, you're going to need about I would say 2.1 to 2.25% of seller paid closing costs. And I'm going to let you know what that is in advance, just so you can structure the purchase agreement correctly. But in this scenario, again, I just want to make sure it's clear. All these scenarios show 20% down payment. You can do a buy down on any product. I don't care if it's FHA, VA at 0% down, conventional at 3 or 5% down, FHA at 3.5% down. Does not matter. Doesn't matter the down payment. Doesn't matter the program. You can do these buy downs. And this is again, this is the 2-1 buy down, which is the most famous one, that the most popular one, I should say. The 3-2-1 buy down, you don't see a lot of these, but it's out there. And here's why. I'll explain why you don't see a lot of them. Here's an example at 250 sales price, $200,000 loan amount. Your first year is going to be at 4, second at 5, third at 6. Year 4 and after is at 7. Keep in mind, all these programs are 30-year fixed rates. You can do it lower if you want, but all these are 30-year fixed rates. It's not an adjustable rate. That's why a lot of people get confused. It is a fixed rate. But in this scenario, here's why this doesn't work that well. You see where it says it's almost $9,200. The purchase price is $250. That's almost 4%. When you do a conventional loan, if you put less than 10% down on your transaction, on the buy, the most you can get from the seller is 3%. So this 3-2-1 would automatically be eliminated because that's almost 4%. Now, once you put 10% down, you can do up to 6% in seller paid concessions. FHA loans, you can do up to 6% regardless. Doesn't matter what your down payment is. And VA can do up to 4%. So this would work in those scenarios, but most people are not going to do a 3-2-1 because it is a lot more expensive. Now, here's the beauty of the temporary buy down, which I want to make sure people completely understand. Let's say that they do this, and let's say that their rates dropped to, I don't know, 4.5% in a year and a half. And this client says, well, I want to take advantage of that, and I'm going to get out of this buy down. A year and a half in, they're sitting at 5%. they want to do the 30 years at 4.5%, they're still going to have a good $3,000 left, you know, half of this one and all of this one. That money, these are seller concessions. That money is going to be taken away from their principal balance. So if let's just say that this is, again, $200,000 loan amount after a year and a half, let's just say the balance is $195. And they have $3,000 left of this buy down. We're going to take that principal balance, we're going to reduce it from 195 to 192. This money is theirs. That's the biggest difference between the temporary buy down and the permanent buy down. So if you have a client that says, hey, I want to get a 5.5% interest rate, I'm willing to pay 3% in discount fees. But let's say a year later, year and a half later, rates go down to 4.5%. They refinance. The loan amount is $300,000. They just paid $9,000 to buy it down to 5.5%. They lose all that money. Temporary buy down, you get it back. Whatever you don't use, you get back. 99% of the people think rates are going to come down when this inflation starts being in control. That's what the beauty of the 3-2 or the 3-2-1, the 2-1, the 1-1 of all the buy downs are. So just keep in mind that that what we're looking at, we think is temporary, and that's why this buy down is, to me, more attractive. Good for buyers, sellers, and builders. Again, sellers, if you're considering a price cut, why not just do the buy down, pay some seller closing costs, help the buyer out, and keeps that your ratios up for the list price compared to the sales price. Builders could be an alternative solution, incentive for the buyer. And for buyers, again, immediate savings. It's going to be 1 to 3 years. The rates continue to be locked, and it's still fixed for the remaining term. And they have the ability to refinance and use those savings that are not used to apply towards principal reduction. So that's a quick rundown. Again, just want to make sure that you understood. If you have questions, obviously call me or reach out however you want it to be, email, doesn't matter. Again, appreciate it. Have a good day.